Greetings and welcome to the inaugural edition of Slob. This is our introductory video. I'm going to apologize ahead of time. I'm a little bit hoarse. Funny way to kick off a channel, but hopefully we can make it through. What's Slob? Slob is a channel dedicated to discussing various topics in data science, statistics, and analytics. Fairly straightforward. Who the intended target audience might be is much more open. I imagine it's probably pretty select. I don't imagine somebody searching around for funny cat videos and accidentally stumbling across a Slob video and deciding to watch that over funny cats. But for the short term, what we're going to do is we're going to start off subsequently after this video with something I'm calling a foundational series, maybe 12 or so editions. And it's basically start at zero. There's some assumption of basic math, but it's very highly concept driven, where we're going to discuss various concepts and ideas in statistics and in scientific thinking. So with that in mind, there might be appeal here to high school or college students, those taking an introductory stats course. And I think that many people know that there are two types of student you're going to find in an introductory stats course: those that want to be there and those that do not. But in either case, whether you are part of a STEM program or major, or you are taking a course as part of a tortuous requirement, hopefully you'll find some value here. As we get through the foundational series, the plan is to get into basic applications of statistics, things like hypothesis testing, modeling, and ideally, I'd love nothing more than for this to evolve into more advanced concepts, more modern concepts, things like artificial intelligence, and if you can stomach it, estimator theory and things like that. And if we do, depending on how things play out, graduate level students might find some edification here. Another possibility, I think, is perhaps you are an established professional. Maybe you are coming from a non-STEM profession and just want to see what the excitement's about and expand your horizons. Maybe you have some quant and you just want to get your chops back up. That's a possibility. Another possibility, of course, is that maybe you are an outstanding established data scientist already and you're simply curious about what sort of shenanigans we got going on over here at Slob. Either way, it is all good, and if I missed you, I apologize. I'm just super delighted that you're here. I'm going to offer a caution or advice, and it may seem a little bit silly. I had actually debated whether or not to go over this, but I decided better talk about it now than not talk about it and regret not having talked about it later. You should always, if you are a student and you're taking a class, you should always favor the points of view that are offered in the classroom or the textbook over external sources. And I'll give an example. This is one of many potential examples. So oftentimes in the education of statistics, you are told as a point of view that there are three types of variables: categorical, quantitative continuous, quantitative discrete. At some point in the future, you may find here on Slob that I'll offer the point of view that there's actually computationally only one kind of variable, quantitative variable. That's true from a computational standpoint. I say this because the last thing I'd ever want is to see in the comments you tell me that, hey, you Slob, you told me that there was one kind of variable and I got 5 points marked off on my midterm, and that would make me very sad, and I might start to cry, and that's just not going to look good on camera. So the big takeaway here is always favor classroom points of view over those from external sources. A big part of this too, and I want to say it now, is that at least for the short term, and certainly through the foundational series, this is not a cookbook. This is not a bunch of recipes. There's plenty of sources already out there to show you how to solve particular types of problems. The idea here is to really enrich understanding and introduce you to the concepts behind the calculations. And once you understand the concepts, then it makes executing the tactics much more approachable and much more direct. And I'll offer it like this. One of the things I noticed is that very frequently students possessed anxiety about statistics, and one of the complaints was that they could not do the math. But what I found time and time again, it happened so many times I can hardly count them, that it wasn't that they couldn't do the math or execute, marshal the capacity to learn the math to do the problem. It was because they didn't know why they were doing the problem in the first place. And of course, once the motivation breaks down and you don't see why you're doing something and what the purpose of it is, then it's an uphill battle. Another very important thing is I don't want this channel to seem like work. We all have plenty of that as it is. And I want this to be as painless as possible, especially if you are taking stats course as a requirement and turning to Slob for some assistance. And dare I say, not only painless, but maybe even enjoyable. If you are a college student, next time you're at a Greek Rager, sipping on a chocolate milkshake or a root beer float, or whatever it is college students drink these days, you can turn down the music, gather around the TV, put on some Slob. Well, that is going to do it for this time around, as will always be the case and is as the case now. Thank you so very much for tuning in. I really do appreciate it. Don't forget to stay tuned for more Slob.